Now we know that we can only store and process numbers, or binary numbers to be precise, in a computer. So how is it that we are able to, see and write texts or save images, movies, songs, well, so many things, right, which hardly seem to be numbers, right? I mean, images would contain graphics, colors, etc., and so would the movies. At least that's what the perception would be. So let's see how we can represent non-numeric data in a computer, and in this tutorial series we'll talk about how to represent characters in a computer. And in this first part we learn about the ASCII character set. This ASCII, which stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange, is pronounced as ASCII. Now, to understand the idea of character set or character encoding or character mapping, assume that you have a magical piece of paper, okay, the post-it kind which you use in office for displaying reminders at your desk or study table if you were a student. And the magic in this paper is that it can only store numbers. So if we write anything which is not a number, it will get erased automatically, okay? So let's say that you wanted to meet Sally in the evening, and just to remind yourself, you want to make a note of that. But of course, the numeric part stays and the non-numeric part erases automatically, all right? Because the paper can only keep numbers. And let's imagine that, you are forced to use this paper and you cannot use anything else to write the reminders for yourself. So you have to come up with some sort of a solution to this problem. All right. And one very easy sort of straightforward way would be that, we create some sort of a mapping, all right, where we translate a character to a number, all right, and vice versa, of course. An example of such a mapping that one may come up with is this, where the number 1 stands for A, or the character A is mapped to the number 1. Similarly, B is mapped to 2, and so on. So now instead of writing the characters, we actually end up writing the numbers, all right? So this process of converting characters to integers is called encoding, and converting integers back to the characters is called decoding. So if we were to write this text, meet Sally at 8, M will get converted to 13, E to 5, the next E to 5, T to 20, space is mapped to 31, and so on. Now I have used alternate colors to distinguish each character from the other. But because we are talking in context of how would we store text or characters in a computer, we don't even have this luxury of choosing different colors. So without different colors, when we translate the characters to numbers, it will look something like this. Now we would not know whether to read this sequence as 1, 35, 5, 20, etc., or to read it as 12, 55, 23, 1, etc., right? So we would not be able to decode this number sequence into our original text. So what do we do now? Well, one easy solution is that we fix the width of the number for each character, and assuming that our mapping has numbers from 1 to 99, fixing the number width to 2 would solve our problem, right? So that means that we pad the single digit numbers with a 0 so that the value remains the same, but now we have a fixed width of 2. So to be able to know which character sequence does the number represent. So now by fixing the width, we are able to decode this sequence. Now the first number to be read, which is 2 places wide, is 13, which maps to M. So we write an M. The next one is 05, which represents an E. And we continue to do that until we get our original text sequence back. So this table of characters to integers that we made is called character mapping, or character set, or character encoding. And with the advent of Unicode, they started calling it code page. Now, there are some minor differences in the meaning of these terms, but essentially they all refer to some kind of character to number translation. Now, the smallest unit that we practically use in a computer is a byte, okay? The smallest unit is actually a bit, but it is impractical to use because it only holds 2 values, so it's not very useful. Now, the minimum unsigned integer that we can store in a byte is 0 and the maximum is 255. In all, 256 different values. So if we were to use a byte to represent characters, we can map 256 different characters in it, isn't it? Now, the character set that we created in our example is fictitious and nobody uses it. So let's see the ASCII character set or character encoding. Now, one of the earliest attempts, excluding the very primitive ones, was the ASCII standard, in which 128 characters were identified and mapped to unsigned integers. And you can go to asciitable.com to find this ASCII character mapping. This table contains a decimal integer value, also its corresponding hex and oct values if you need them, and the character that the integer represents. And because computers were invented in the English speaking world, these were all the characters that were ever required apparently. So 0 to 127 integers mapped to different characters. Now out of these, the first 32 characters, that is for integer values 0 to 31, are mostly obsolete and are non-printable control characters, which were required in the days of teletyping, and we mostly don't have to worry about them now. Now, if we only required a maximum unsigned integer of 127, we don't need this 8th bit, okay? We only need 7 bits in binary. So this 8th bit was free to use because ASCII did not define anything beyond the integer value of 127. So using this 8th bit, some more characters used in Western European languages were defined along with some mathematical characters. Now this part is called the extended ASCII and it's really not a standard, okay? The basic ASCII character set was the standard which all computers in the world, English speaking or otherwise, had to follow. Meanwhile, the computer reached the other parts of the world. So seeing the free 8th bit, many countries or people using different languages extended the character set to suit their language. And that was chaotic. For example, people using language A and language B defined their own character sets. Okay. Now here I have used some random characters, some of which are Latin. So don't worry about those details. The point is, try and understand how communication breaks down with such a system of character encoding. So let's say that the person in country A speaking language A creates a file with these characters, which may be some meaningful thing to him. And that file goes to someone in country B. So when his software tries to decode it into text, he sees completely different characters, which may or may not hold any meaning to him in a sentence. Or even worse, if the integers are not even defined in his character set. So he may see some weird characters like, some question marks or diamonds and all, which you might have seen sometimes in emails that you receive in a different language. Well, the point is that he's trying to use a different character encoding scheme to decode that file. Now, initially, because most of the computers were standalone without much networking, it was still alright, okay? But in the 90s, when the internet became really popular, people with different languages using different character sets started communicating, and this problem just exploded. And to solve this huge problem entered the Unicode Consortium, where people from different countries speaking different languages came together and tried to standardize encodings, trying to ensure that all languages find their place in the digital world using the UTF-32, UTF-16 and UTF-8 encoding schemes. Now, there are more encoding schemes by Unicode, but these are the commonly used ones, and we will learn about these in the next couple of videos. Thanks for watching.